Hello and welcome to the Scripture Takeaway. My name is Peace George, and I'll be your host today. I've been thinking about that scripture, Psalm 91 verse 1. It says, He who dwells in the secret place, he who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. But my mind was stayed on the word dwells. And whilst this verse conveys a beautiful and comforting image of finding refuge and protection in God's presence, it's important to understand that dwelling in the secret place doesn't necessarily mean a consistently or trouble-free life. Okay? It doesn't mean that you have to have a 5-star experience because you stay in a 5-star hotel. Because sometimes there's just something within you that doesn't make you absorb the 5-star feel of your stay. And so the secret place symbolizes an intimate, close relationship with God. It's a place of spiritual shelter and communion with Him. However, it doesn't exempt us from life's challenges. It does shield us from it in a way that we know we're protected. And some people are going to disagree with this, but Job is my go-to man anytime, right? In fact, many biblical figures who dwelled in God's secret place still faced trials and tribulations. What they were just sure that they had victory even before the battle, right? For example, consider the life of Job, a righteous man who endured immense suffering despite his close walk with God. Now, some people are going to say, yeah, but there was a point where he was complaining and this and that. Yeah, I'm going to get to that very quickly. Very, very quickly. Now, sometimes dwelling in the secret place can mean, that's hilltop feel. But remember that God is also in the valley. Okay, so even when you're not getting that 5-star feel, you still have to dwell. And so sometimes, because we always have this picture of this perfect thing, and we forget the process, the making of the king. We forget the making of the king. That we just start looking and looking and looking at you in the kingdom, and that's good. However, whilst dwell can mean a 5-star experience in a 5-star hotel, dwell can also mean a difficult experience in a 5-star setting. So in the case of Job, who dwelled in God's presence, what does his dwelling look like? I'm going to use the acronym dwell. For Job, it meant devotion in difficulty. Scripture tells us in Job 1 verse 1, in the land of Uz, there lived a man whose name was Job. This man was blameless and upright. He feared God and shunned evil. Look at that. Beginning with a powerful description of his character. Okay, deep devotion. And then we have the W, wrestling with questions. Your scripture tells us in Job 7 verse 20, when Job was saying, if I have sinned, what have I done to you? You who see everything we do, why have you made me your target? Have I become a burden to you? This guy was asking God these questions like, how dare you, Job? He wrestled with his circumstances and sought understanding. And it's okay for you to bring your questions and concerns to God, just as Job did. Somebody said he was complaining. He was complaining too. God. He brought his circumstances to God. He wasn't complaining against God. He dwelt in his presence. Whatever Job did, he did in God's presence. He expressed his emotion in Job 3:26. I have no peace, no quietness, I have no rest, but only turmoil. Job expressed his raw emotions honestly before God. He didn't bottle up his pain, but he poured it out in lament to God, never against, to God. And look at what does dwelling look like sometimes. The L is leaning on God's strength. And we see Job doing that in Job 13 verse 15. Though he slay me, yet will I hope in him. I will surely defend my ways to his face. Even in his suffering, Job leaned on God's strength. He affirmed his trust in God's character. Do you see? And then the last L is listening to God's wisdom. Job did that in Job 38 verses 1 to 4. Then the Lord spoke to Job out of the storm. He said, who is that obscures my plans with words without knowledge? Brace yourself like a man. I will question it, and you shall answer me. He listened to God in the midst of Job's questioning. God revealed his wisdom and sovereignty. And so sometimes you need to pause and listen for God's voice, even when you're asking questions. Just pause, okay? Knowing that his wisdom far exceeds your own. So Job's example here teaches us that we can dwell in God's presence even when facing adversity. So your dwelling may not be that peaceful ride. It can look like devotion in difficulty. It can look like wrestling with questions. It can look like expressing your emotions. But do it while in his presence. And do it leaning on God's strength. Do it listening to his wisdom as you navigate life's challenges, just as Job did. And so in doing so, keep drawing nearer to God. Do not let your questions draw you away from him. Listen, did you know that after Job had expressed his questions, emotions, and struggles before God, and after God had spoken to Job to remind him of his wisdom and sovereignty, God still had a special commendation for Job? I know some people will tell you that if you don't come to God's presence and come and ask questions. Just make sure you're in his presence. He wants you to always be in his presence. And so in Job 42 verses 7 to 8, it says, after the Lord had said these things to Job, he said to Eliphaz the Temanite, I am angry with you and your two friends because you have not spoken the truth about me, as my servant Job has. Same Job that was questioning God. Listen, so now, the same Job that was questioning God. And they will not say, don't ask God any questions. So sometimes you question God and you just feel bad for it. Come as you are. Just make sure that whatever you do, you want to cry, you want to do it in his presence. God called Job my servant, emphasizing Job's faithfulness, integrity, honesty in his relationship with God. Come and be vulnerable. Come and be authentic. Come. And so despite questions and struggles, Job remained devoted to God. God acknowledged his righteousness. That his questions, these things that we will call complaints and questions. Yeah, like, God, why did you do this? Why did you do that? God did not judge Job for it, because Job did not do it against God. He did it before God. And that's all that matters. God values not only your praises and your thanksgiving, but also your honesty and authenticity in this relationship. So keep that fire burning. I love you with the love of God, and God bless you.